What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to another edition of the Phillies Talk Podcast. I'm going to be quite honest. It's been a hot minute since me and Tyler actually kind of uploaded an episode of here. It's for the Phillies Talk Podcast episode 20 because obviously we've done 19 episodes of this show. I know kind of held it off for a while, especially after we rebranded to as y'all see it now with the Sports and Wrestling Connection. But it's at some point, wanted to bring this back. What is going on, Ku? Long time no see, my guy. But yeah, for those who are new, make sure you guys hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, share this out. Like I said, we'll do these not every week. Like we'll do these occasionally throughout the year. And stuff like that, and kind of go over some stuff as well. But the first things first, get it out of the way. Before we get into the topics on hand, to be honest, look, as a longtime Phillies fan, as long as I can remember, to be honest, there's two things. One, yes, I'm excited for the season, but at the same time, number two, I'm ready to, or I'm kind of not say it's one of those things like I said, I'm excited, but also at the same time, I'm going to feel like we're going to get disappointed again with this franchise, which for those who have not understood, we have not won a championship in almost 15 years if you think about it. Yeah, about 15 years, and it's ridiculous to see that how quiet this Phillies team has been at the all season. Which we'll get to the regions so far that the Phillies have whiffed on, for that matter. And we'll go right on that. But the first things first, let me get right to it. I made a folder for this. But I know everyone was seeing this. We are running back with the same coaching staff. And to be quite honestly, I don't like that at all, for lack of a better term. For me, I don't see how this coaching staff can ever win a championship. Look, I love Topper. I really do. But at the same point, I'm also kind of his biggest critic. And if Tyler was here, he'll definitely will tell you too. Like I've, may or may not have called for this man's head a couple of times the last couple of years. But my issue with Topper at times is I don't know if he ever knows how to manage a bullpen. And at times, it really just sometimes hurts the Phillies. Sometimes not, depending on the games what you're asking for. It's really showing that you probably don't have no trust in your fifth starter, which hopefully we'll talk more on that. Looking at the projections so far, but so far at the time, you also had Taijuan Walker, and I know a lot of Phillies fans would not. That was the only one game, or obviously the one start, I guess you could say, that Topper decides, let's go with a fucking bullpen game. Because Wheeler usually does this thing. Same with Nola, Sanchez. Even though I was a bit harsh, I will admit, on Christopher Sanchez last year and a half or so. And I did want to say apologize to Sanchez for being a biggest, not say a hater, but one of his biggest critics. I kind of been very harsh on the kid. I mean, Ranger, I know what he's capable of, but I'll talk more about Ranger in a second. But really looking at how you're seeing this rotation, like 1 through 4, it's a solid 1 through 4. Problem is, the fifth spot is always the biggest fucking question mark, which sucks to say because it's been frustrating because the fact we still had freaking Walker under the next 2 years. Good fucking God. Good Lord. Like when I tell you non-Phillies fans how bad this dude is, we had Mets fans had tell us, watch out with him. And unfortunately, this dude seems like he's on the wrong side of 30. The velocity is not where it needs to be. The location is iffy. And at the same time, this dude can't stay healthy with the fucking damn, which we have seen since he came into Major League Baseball. He has a bit of an injury history. And really looking at how now, did see early some news at the start of this off season that if Walker does not do well in spring training, which I know a lot of Phillies fans have their fingers crossed, which is oddly enough to say. I mean, we are a bit of a crazy bunch of of the fan base, rightfully at times. So, what's going on, John L? But really seeing, because we all want to see Taiwan Walker get cut from this team, which unfortunately, if we do that, we have to eat the rest of his contract, which I'll talk about Dave Dombrowski in just a minute, because holy crap, I have talked nothing but I have shown my not say utter disdain for the dude, but I've had my frustrations with him. So, and I know I'm kind of getting off topic here, but this kind of also applies with that too, with the coaching staff. Decides to look. I don't mind give Topper an extension, but at some point, Topper has to learn, manage the bullpen. Stop going with closure by committee at fucking times. Now, at times when you have to do it, if you have to give your, well, funny enough, RQ, that brings up another point I did not have in my notes. Here's the thing with how the Phillies have been operating the last couple of years. Yeah, was it nice to win the division for the first time over 10 years? Yes. But at the same time, I didn't feel great about it. Second of all, like the buy, now I'm not going to make no excuses the buy not hurt us or anything, but the bats just went cold. We have guys not, drawing walks, taking pitches, like baseball 101 type of stuff. But one of the comparisons, and which I've seen a lot from some of the Philly sports media, and I kind of find this legitimately funny, but it does make a lot of sense. The Phillies kind of, in a way, kind of operate the Dallas Cowboys in the NFL. They're kind of stuck in their ways, and it's like, oh, they don't want to add no more star players. You got like a guy like Jerry, who, in a way, I kind of see it with Dave a little bit, not want to add, which this was all really made me really start having disdain for Dombrowski. Is the way how he said, we don't need to add any more star players, which in my mind says, like, well, that it kind of indicates to me where this team stands. It doesn't look like they want to show anything, which it's crazy enough they had, especially how this offseason has gone, past the winter meetings, you got to bring back guys that, let's be real, I'm not entirely too fond of. Case in point, first move we ever did was bring back Garrett Stubb on a prove-it deal, which, for the love of God, I think he's a good guy. I think he's fun to be around. But when you look at it from a player perspective of him, he is hot garbage with that. And I kind of get it too, yes. And we're also trying to reduce JT's workload, because obviously he's not getting any younger in terms of, trying to catch 162 games. And that kind of really concerns me, like, of who's his backup's going to be. For me, I've always wanted to have Marchand to be that guy. Look, yes, to be a backup, but at the same point, once JT, ever decides to hang it up, let Marchand now do the full-time duties. Because Marchand, I know the short sample size that when he's been up here as JT's backup, or Stubbs' backup, when JT was out, like, Marchand is capable to play pretty well at the major league level now, and stuff like that. And like other free agent moves at the time, because obviously with a lot of the, Phillies being quiet, what have you, it showed that, bringing Jordan Romano, who, to be honest, I'm kind of iffy on this one, just because, the dude's got talented. I mean, he has some good years with Toronto. But my problem is, this is a risky deal for a guy that has been slightly injury prone with elbow issues, and then you bring in another minor leaguer and Peyton Henry, which does inspire a lot of confidence as a Phillies fan going into 2025, knowing that you have the Mets are getting better, you have the Braves. Well, the Braves are the Braves; they're getting healthy. Then you got the upcoming Washington Nationals, who are going to be freaking pesky as hell. At the same point, like, and the Phillies haven't really done much to really show, like, can they really have made any impactful moves, which sucks because, like I said, that kind of where my worry comes in. Like, I think this team, where you look at it, like, I just feel like, with how the Mets have, improved Juan Soto, which, speaking of that, going back to, let's see, yeah, Arco, thing is too, and that kind of brings me to, and look, as much as like I said, I'll give Dave a lot. I'm still going to give Dave a lot of shit because he's the kind of the, and I kind of get it. I mean, he's got to want to sign the checks and shit like that. But at the same point, at some point, and I'm one of those Phillies fans kind of thinking, like, this dude has not done anything impactful since he's come to Philadelphia. And as crazy as it sounds, the only one impactful move that this franchise has made when it was in the last year of the Man Klentak era, which is really funny enough. Since because me and Sarah had this conversation, I think we did have this bit of a conversation, was the fact that, yeah, I mean, the fact that you had Matt Klentak, who, granted, not the best, GM or president of baseball operations, what have you. But the one thing I will say, which I will appreciate Klentak doing, was bringing in Bryce Harper in 2019, and look where it has really worked well with this Phillies franchise. Now, unfortunately, hasn't really shown any World Series success. Might I add? Well, actually, I take that back. Other than 2022, which, well, fortunately, we kind of fell short because we got gassed, and which stinks. Like, really looking at how this team has gone, finished 95 and 67 through 162 games, wins the NL East for the first time in over 12 years. But at the same point, like, you got guys are willing to swinging willy nilly, not want to take walks. Running the scoring position has been fucking horrible. Which we'll talk about in just a bit because of my next talking point. Was how did the Phillies finish after 2024 in terms of their positions, their position rankings within Major League Baseball? I mean, shoot, if you want to go through the offensive side of the baseball, they were actually top seven in the National League, or say in Major League Baseball with the 257 batting average, which I want to see higher. Bump that up a bit because I mean that's just barely just slightly above average. Because I think how the league before the 2024 season, the league average was about 248 ish. I could be wrong, so don't quote me on that. The fact that the Phillies were top seven runners to scoring position was still doesn't surprise me. Like I said, I want to see this higher with this franchise because I think we got guys that can drive in runs. But the problem is we're so focused on, with the long ball, out of the ballpark, which is kind of fucking stupid. It's like, I really hate that mind. I get it. This is the normal age of baseball that we're living in. But at the same point, like, that doesn't really translate well throughout the entire year. But at the same point, too, it's like, yeah, we're top four in OPS at 750, and we're top five on the on base at 325. Now, the on base, on the other hand, I do want to see higher because the fact of the matter is, we got guys who are striking. Well, so we have guys that are obviously strikeout candidates, and guys like Kyle Schwarber, which, by the way, I'll give Schwarber a lot of credit though. Out of the last couple of years, I know we have given this man a lot of shit because of his tendency to strike it, pretty much home run or bust type of thing. I'll say approach is probably the better term. But the fact that this dude had more walks and strikeouts in 2024, I'm impressed. For that nice little turnaround. But I still think too, if he can keep that up, I think I think it was his last year of his contract. I can't remember. And so I think this might be his last year on the contract. Now, if I'm Dave, now if Dave's looking at this saying, because of how if Schwarber performs better than he did in 2024, I say give that man an extension, 100%. And yeah, we also made some slight trades here and there, but right before early in the offseason, trading Scott Kingery. I don't know exactly who we got back in return. Quite honestly, And it sucks. I mean, I think Kingery's a nice guy, but just I don't kind of feel like he was not going to really work out well in the city of brotherly love. As for those who, or especially the Phillies fans who have seen this man play, not at the minor league level, but when you look at his time in the major league level, has not been that great, which kind of sucks to say. Um, and it's really tough. It's actually going back to my thing on things too, which I want to see improvement is on the pitching side of things. Now, yes, getting Jordan Morano is nice and all, but that still doesn't help the fact that we're inside the top 15 in bullpen ERA at 390 at 3.94. I do want to see that a bit lower because I think we have the arms to be like I said, a top 10 to a top 5 bullpen when you look at it on paper. But like I said, in terms of I know it's like, on paper you can look at it and say, oh, this could be like top 5, whatever. Well, it also comes down to execution because, we got guys like, Jose, which stuff's there, but he's got to learn he at times has command issues. Hoffman, who, when you looking at this market for Hoffman and the rest of the relievers, it's not really the best market because right now that's haven't really shown. I mean, I don't know. It's really, I don't know. Like it's really hard to really explain it. Um, but I mean, at the end of the day, I just want to see this team actually bring a World Series for the first time since 2008. I know a lot of Phillies fans want to see that because of how everything else is happening in this godforsaken city. For that, but really, at the end, Dave needs to get his heads out of his ass and actually look. Definitely bring back Hoffman on a multi-year deal because he's been your. I'm sorry, but for me, that was the bright point of our bullpen was Jeff Hoffman. Now, at times, yes, he does had shaking moments here and there, but I kind of do want to see Hoffman back in a Phillies uniform because number one, like I said, the market. I think I don't know if it was all the John. Um, but yeah. Anyway, and I'm gonna make this. Gonna clarify this. I might say do like this, like 30. Let's say 30, 35 minutes, something like that. But anyways, like I said, there's a lot more things I want to kind of go over a little bit, as well. But like I said, in terms of the market for, Hoffman, not looking the brightest. I think I don't know, it was either Jeff Passan or John Heyman kind of talked about that, or maybe JP Morosi, one of those guys. I do think, um, I do think Hoffman should be back on a multi-year deal in Philly to stay with Philly. Because, like I said, he was that bright spot in the bullpen. And to be fair, it really does stink to see it. Like, and that kind of brings. But yeah, one second, y'all. I'm having But yeah, and that kind of goes back to my point when I talked about Dave whiffing on free agents, guys like Garrett Crochet, Kyle Tucker, and obviously Juan Soto. Which, yeah, I know Juan Soto was not going to come here anyways. Which I did want to point that out. But it would have been nice to see this team actually offer a contract. Now, like I said, I'll talk about more of this at a later date because, or I don't know, actually, when I put a video about this, about the contract, and some of the caveats that comes with it. But like I said, that's going to come out at another time. Probably the biggest number one free agent that the Phillies pretty much whiffed on was Garrett Crochet of the Chicago White Sox. Now, from the package, what I saw was Aiden Miller, Crawford, and Gabriel Rancones. Which when you really look at the asking price of what the White Sox wanted for, they wanted Painter. I want Painter and a couple other high prospects, but let's be real. Painter for me, I think is untouchable, rightfully so, because as we saw the projection of, of Andrew Painter being the number 5 star, which I hope to God it, because for me, he was already going to be in this rotation during the 2024 season, which unfortunately blew his arm out during spring training, which kind of sucked. But at the same point, and then you also have freaking Walker, who I really still have to question, why would you bring in a guy like Taijuan Walker, who it had a bit of injury, has an injury history. The velocity is not where it needs to be, and at times when you really look at not just the velocity, when you really look at how he locates his pitches, it's like batting practice. I think at times there was a couple times where he's topping around like 94, 95 miles an hour with the fastball. And at times, like his mechanics don't look that great. We look at it from, if you have not watched any Phillies games, but for those who have seen or has experienced watching Taijuan Walker on your teams, guys like teams like the Mets, the Mariners, the Diamondbacks. There's probably another team I'm missing, not just the Phillies. But let me know in the chat, who am I missing that Taijuan has not, who has pitched for. Seeing like his mechanics, it's robotic-y is how I like to put it. But at the same point, really looking at how this team has gone, was it nice to win not the World Series, which would have been fucking great for this town, but looking at how this free agency has gone on the last multiple days, I'm kind of really concerned if Dave ever wants to make a major move to help either the offense, probably the start, because maybe starting rotation in case if Painter's not ready just yet for the 2025 season, probably keep him down in the probably AAA to get him some, try to get the rust off, or at least get some more bullpen help if that's the case. No, actually, that's kind of bringing up my next point. But looking at what the needs are for this franchise, like I said, it's not really much, but really looking at how this franchise has been, center field, which always has been the biggest key issue for us. I would say with the last couple of years, 3 years or 2 years, I might be mistaken. But really looking, center field is probably number one, but most of the time because you have to platoon both Marsh and Rojas, which, look, as much as I've been a very big of a critic against Rojas, because this dude couldn't swing it back to save his fucking life. The only thing that's always kept him on the field was his defense, which is nice and all, but if his back doesn't come around, that really does kind of hurt the bottom of the order. If it does get, if it turns over to Kyle Schwarber, if he needs to get runs in. And with Marsh, at times he can be hit and miss. And not really doesn't done well lefties, which I still think that needs to be worked on, because I think Marsh is a nice corner outfielder, which has really worked out. I was the last couple, especially in terms of last year, probably the year, but it's a little bit of some of the year before that. But at the same point, it's like we need a true center fielder that is good on defense, can also swing the bat, and actually help drive in runs. Because, good Lord, this is the one team that has an issue of scoring runs. No, times we've seen this team can go pop off for, I don't fucking know, 10 plus runs a game, depending on whose teams you're fucking playing. But when you really look at how this team does, let's say, I don't know, perform against, I don't know. It really sucks to say, am I very critical of this franchise? Yeah, I've always been. Now, I've gotten, some flack for it, for some of my outlandish takes, but I mean, case in point, having, asking, called for Topper's head. Now, there was times where moments of last year and probably the year before that, There was, well, I would say a big reason. I'm not saying a big reason, but at the same point, having, oh God, what's the word I'm looking for here? Because I'm having a brain fart right now. But really looking at how Tolbert somehow does his laid back personality at times kind of hurts his team because eh, it really does show at times when they're played, like they're just so nonchalant about it. I mean, and not to mention too the fact that yeah, throughout all season the Phillies kind of started early, was putting out like reports, they're like shopping Alec Boehm and Nick Castellanos to get a bigger bat, which you know, honestly, I mean, I think it's two kind of, which is kind of funny. I've been a kind of big Boehm defender since he's came into the league because it's kind of funny because it's like still never understood why Boehm got the hate that he did. I mean, shit, the dude almost put up 100 RBI season. Yeah, the home run total was a little bit down, but I don't think Boehm was the way. He's not the. Obviously, doesn't really say conform to the normal age of baseball nowadays, but the way how his approach is, like he does the old school way of doing it, is driving in runs when you really need it. But at the times too, like and with Castellanos, well, let's just say he's also hit and miss on as well. But looking at how this franchise has gone on, which is kind of nice to see finally, was it 3 straight years of having an above 500 season? I mean, post what since 2021, the fact that we finally made the playoffs after good lord after 10 plus years, because I know a lot of Phillies fans, and for those who have not understood what we went through. And yes, I'm probably saying, oh, you're probably asking, like, what about the Mariners? Well, like, I mean, the Mariners had its own situation for the last 2 decades. But when you can talk about the struggle that the Phillies have gone on, not making the postseasons for the first and over a decade, which now that belongs to the LA Angels of Anaheim, which is now kind of ironic. That's right, but that's not the here nor there. But really looking at how the franchise has gone on since then. 3 straight making the playoffs, one division title. Came up short in the World Series in 2022. Or maybe yeah, okay, 3 straight years. I'm sorry, I almost had my math wrong. Either way, but really looking at at times, and I was thinking what to say. The last couple of years of what kind of hurt the Phillies a little bit in terms of playoffs is the offense going cold. And then sometimes, yeah, the pitching kind of just let them down a little bit. Think about it. Look, anytime when Wheeler, and look, and I love Wheeler to death. The dude has been nothing but a workhorse since he's been here. Got a well earned contract extension. But the problem where I have with not say with Wheeler, but this goes to my point with the offense. Anytime when either Nola, which I'll talk about in just a second, or Wheeler, when they have their on their A game, the offense can't give them runs. A lot of times they fail them. Now, if I'm a guy like Bryce Harper, like I would be vocal about it. Like say, dude, like I say, guys, like if our guy, whether it's Wheeler or Nola pitching well, and you can't drive in runs, can't really steal bags, get in a scoring position. A lot of times that shit sets you back. And it really does hurt you throughout the rest. And yes, it's 9 innings, but especially in the later stages, like if you can't get runs going or like put insurance runs on, depending on what the situation calls for it, 9 times out of 10 you're going to lose games anyways. Now at times, like in turn, like I said, going back to the thing with the free agency though, like look, I kind of like Romano. I wasn't not a I didn't hate the Romano pick, but I don't like it at the same time. Like I'm like very neutral on it because it's like, let's just say, because I'm really tired of these 1 year deals. It's like, and that's where I always give Dave a lot of fucking shit for this. The fact that saying is like, oh, and the one thing, like I said, the one thing I always said about Dave, like he settles for second rate, hand me down players. And true, we look at some of the acquisitions he's had, hasn't really done well. I mean, shit, the fuck guy, ever since letting go Whit Merrifield, who was the glue, yeah, I mean, the dude couldn't hit for shit, but held this team together, goes off to Atlanta, balls off. It's like, it really shows, like, yeah, Dave needs to, realize, oh, I can't settle for this, for, say, second ranked hand me down players. I want someone to have an immediate impact, um, whether it's in the outfield, or maybe behind the dish, like, it, in case of, like, say, JT gets hurt or Stubbs can't get the job done, which we have kind of seen, guys kind of stepping up. That's not named Garrett Stubbs. Guys like Aramis Garcia Ramirez, I think it is. Correct me if I'm wrong. He looked pretty okay. In the short time he's been up here. Marshawn for the look, I've been the biggest support. I've always wanted to see Marshawn be the backup to JT Realmuto. But like I said, I don't hate Garrett Stubbs, but I just don't like his way. I know people say, "Oh, he handles the pitching staff well," which is all good and all. But when you really factor in his offense has been dog shit, it doesn't really help. It doesn't really, help either way, and it's and it sucks because look, the dude's a nice guy, which we have seen even on social media. Like at the same points, like, we need a solid backup catcher to JT because, like I said before, JT is not getting any younger. I think it was 33 or 34, maybe 30, probably somewhere around there. I could be wrong. Like I said, JT's not getting any younger. Who knows how much longer until we see his play decline? Not being the same best catcher in baseball as he used to be. Because we're seeing more younger catchers kind of start really, might kind of taking that title away from him because, yeah, JT, he has defensively had a bit of a down year, which I'm saying kind of, well, I don't know if this is the first down year he's had, but I'm not going to really hate JT for that, which kind of happens in baseball. But if I'm Dave, which, for the love of God, I want him to do something. Look, as much as I know I like to rant and rave on Dave making a move, and the fact that we could, like, here's the thing: we had a package, a good package to get Crochet from the White Sox, but Chris Getch with the White Sox wants to be a little bit greedy, and so throwing Painter to that too. It's like because we were, and unfortunately, never the case. And then here comes the Boston Red Sox, gave them what they were asking for, and get Crochet. Which is kind of funny now. Like this is the same shit that what the Red Sox has done when they got Chris Sale in 2018, 2017 or 2018, one of those 2 years. So it'll come back to me. But really, and shit, you could also add outfield help with Kyle Tucker, and yet you missed on that because now you got the Cubs who swooped in, gave up the 7th ranked prospect in Cam Smith, who's a third baseman, gave up on Hayden Wesneski, and then there was another guy that I can't think of that the Cubs have given up. It'll come to me. Like I said, it'll come to me. But the fact that you missed out on Crochet and Tucker really speaks volumes to where this Dave is just sitting by, seeing these other teams improving, and it really bugs up the living hell out of the Phillies fan base. It's like, we need impactful players to help this team to get over that hump, finally win the World Series for the first time in over 15 fucking years. And yet Dave just sits by, twiddling his thumbs, seeing guys like Crochet get moved to Boston, Kyle Tucker to Chicago. I mean, it doesn't make any fucking sense to me. And look, I know I hate. Yeah, but just really looking at it as a whole, do I expect another successful regular season? Yeah, but and you probably, and for those who are watching the stream, probably watch the replay of it. Probably would have any questions for me. It's like, do you see any success in the playoffs? And again, to be honest, yes and no. Where the no part comes in it's the fact of the matter is like where my issues lie is this offense not, you know, being stagnant, which for those who have seen the last couple of years, that's what really killed the Phillies a lot was stagnant offense. At times, not giving pitchers supporting, pitcher runs. At times the bullpen collapses, which a lot of us Phillies fans are not familiar with, which we have seen over the years. Just really looking at this talent, this roster just completely fall apart when it comes to postseason time. Now, I mean, in the end, I just want to see this team actually do something to finally bring a championship. Because if not, well, I'm going to be one of those fans to say, just clean house, clean the coaching staff. Because for the love of God, I'm considering putting Dave on the hot seat along with a guy like Kevin Long. I'm just tired of the lazy shit that this franchise has done at the end of the day. But for those who are in here, appreciate you guys hanging out. Guys, make sure you guys check out as well. We'll be back at again at 8:00 from Monday Night Raw. If you guys new, make sure like, subscribe. That all being said, like I said, it was gonna be like a shorter podcast episode because obviously gonna be a little busy. But shout out to Arku, shout out to Daniel Sports, shout out my boy John Nell, shout out to everyone. We'll be back at again. We'll see you guys at 8:00. Peace, guys.